Okay, let's continue. I'll ask me anything with, according to Taz, the royal YouTube sensation. And Tash, from Denise Angelina's 1243.
Is the royal rift about to reach its final breaking point? Shocking reports suggest that once Prince William takes the throne, he plans to strip Prince Harry and Meghan Markle of all their remaining royal titles.
Are we ever going to find out the real identity of the children? I presume she's referring to Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet.
The real identity of them. See, whilst I had suspicions a long time ago that I think a moon bump and when Meghan was initially pregnant was used, whether it was just to get more attention and stuff. Ever since the children have been born, I believe that they have two children. I'm sorry. I believe that Archie and Lily are Harry and Meghan's children. It doesn't matter if surrogates were used. It doesn't matter if the stork themselves brought them down in a little pink and blue blanket. I think that their children are their children. I don't believe that they use paid actors. I know not everybody believes that, but I do believe, honestly, they are their children. I think that I can see Markle in the few images that we've seen. I see Thomas Markle in Lily's face, and I see Archie. I can definitely see his father, and again, they've got the Markle nose. So I happen to believe that the children are theirs, which does actually make it rather sad. I think even sadder, but because they've still been cut off from their family. They've never been allowed to build relationships, which is so important for children, for their mental health, and just generally growing up with uncles and aunties and cousins and grandparents. It's all about their emotional development, which Harry and Meghan have definitely stripped away from those children. Plus the way that Harry and Meghan seem to go through friends and staff, you can imagine how many nannies those children have had. So I'd imagine for emotional stability, it would be more important for those children to have a relationship with their actual family, which Harry and Meghan have not allowed, and I don't think that they ever will.
Doesn't the surrogacy question, though, matter, Tash, in terms of the line of succession? Because my view is that yes, Archie and Lilibet should not be in the LOS.
I'm not so sure that the line of succession really means as much as it used to, because as I said earlier, I mean, if a terrible tragedy ever happened, I think that we would see the monarchy abolished rather than we would see people step up into a position, and certainly certain other people then taken to the throne. I think that we love the monarchy, the royal family that we have now, because we love Queen Elizabeth. Lots of people, obviously, you know, I love the King and Queen Camilla, and then I can't wait for Catherine and William. I think that they will bring a whole new fresh dynamic to the monarchy when they become king and queen consort. But yes, there is elements with the surrogacy if she didn't birth the child herself, but again, you know, you've got to move with modern times. That doesn't mean that the child's any less theirs. There's lots of women that can't give birth naturally and they choose surrogacy.
But I guess it's because of the rule that
it's because of the rules in place.
Is this the ultimate royal revenge? Or, you know, a necessary move to protect the crown? Let's break it down. Since stepping back from royal duties in 2020, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's relationship with the royal family has spiraled.
Yeah. And also because of the fact, I guess, that these
they lied.
Well, yeah, they lied, but also these two are not British. So some monarchies have a rule that actually you have to be educated, for example, in the country that you are in the line of succession for, but that isn't the rule. So I guess we deal with the rules that we have. You know, Lilibet wasn't even born in the UK, but again, that isn't a rule. That isn't an issue. But what the rule is that you have to be born, you know, from the mother.
I think it's a good rule. I do think it's a good rule, Dan. I read that myself, and I think that would have solved a lot of problems if they'd have done that initially. It would be a case of that Archie and Lily didn't become a prince and a princess because they don't live in this country. They have not been educated in this country. They know nothing about the royal family or what it means to be a member of the royal family. Yes. They've been completely detached and removed from it. I think, if anything, allowing them to be a prince and a princess is just more confusing for the children's own identity, especially growing up in a country that fought a war to abolish their links to the monarchy.
Yes, so, because the thing is, the surrogacy question, right? I hear what you're saying. It's there potentially does have to be modernization there, because just imagine if Catherine had been unable to give birth, or imagine if a future heir is gay, for example, and wants to have children via a surrogate. Now, so that does have to be dealt with. So I don't think any of the questions around Archie and Lilibet are about a cruelty for people that are born via a surrogate. That is my I mean, I'm sure there's some people who feel that way, but my sense is it's much more about the dishonesty, the mystery surrounding the birth, and to be honest, more actually now about the fact that just they shouldn't be in the line of succession because they are being raised as American children. And it's almost like, well, what's the loophole that will get them out of the line of succession? Like, if there was a loophole to now get Prince Harry out of the line of succession, I think most royalists would want that too. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do. Oh, I think the truth should come out, the fact that whether they used a surrogate, but with the line of succession, I suppose I don't think it would ever come together. As I said, I don't like even talking about it.
No,
but if
because I guess a lot
happens,
of bad things would have to happen. But I guess, look, the late Queen Elizabeth II was so concerned about it that she told William off, and she didn't often tell Prince William off, but she told William off for constantly using helicopters to transport his whole family. And also, like, he still travels in planes with Catherine and the children. It's like, don't do that. Don't do that, William. There's a reason you're not meant to do that when you are, literally holding the future of the British royal family in your hands, in your family's hands. Until George or Charlotte or Louis have children, and that could be many, many years off, I'm sorry that it matters, because you and your family are the only thing potentially in the way of a Harry and Meghan monarchy. And of course, a lot of bad things would have to happen, but we know terrorist attacks happen. We know plane crashes happen, especially if you're taking private planes. And I know William doesn't take private planes, but at the time he was taking helicopter flights, and sometimes flying the helicopter himself. So I look, it is, I guess, a horrible circumstance to ever imagine it happening, and God forbid it ever does happen, but it could, and that's the point, it could. And as you say, I think there would be such a revolt from the British public. I mean, it's impossible to imagine.
Oh, it'd be abolished.
Yeah, because it's impossible to imagine the two least popular members of the royal family, but that
Harry and Meghan.
Yeah, exactly. But that would be an end to the royal family, and that would be such worry. But anyway, let's move on, because Sue Penner 7401 wants to ask you, Tash.
Bombshell interviews, Netflix specials, and a tell-all memoir have only deepened the divide. While King Charles has largely tried to keep the peace, Prince William has taken a firmer stance, distancing himself from his brother both publicly and privately.
Why does it appear that King Charles is not fully aware of what negative impact the Harcourts' behaviour has had on his people and the rest of the world? The Harcourts' conduct has affected so many people, and they continue to hurt millions of people every single day. She says, look, I'm a parent too that loves her children, but I would not continue to turn a blind eye on the behaviour of my kids and the damage they are spewing. Why does it seem that the people's feelings from around the world do not matter to the king? I don't care that the image that would develop if he were to actually put a stop to this behaviour would look like. He doesn't realise that the world would applaud him for putting them in their place. And she says, thank you, Sue from California.
The real danger, Dan argues, is in the line of succession. These kids are being raised as American citizens with no connection to royal duty, yet they still hold royal titles. Is that fair? Is it legal? And what if, God forbid, a tragedy occurred that made them heirs? This is where it gets intense. Dan and Taz blast King Charles for refusing to stand up to Harry and Meghan. They argue that his emotional weakness as a father has compromised his duty as a king. While Charles leaves the door open for reconciliation, the public and William see it clearly. Harry is not coming back. He's burned every bridge. And if Charles doesn't act, he's handing William a royal mess to clean up. Trust? It's gone.
It's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, many people say that Charles, he just wants his son back, and he hopes by not doing that, he leaves the door open. But he's not thinking of it long term. The British public wouldn't want Harry to come back as a working royal. His brother, Prince William, his son, the heir to the throne, he wouldn't want Harry being part of their version of the royal family. He wouldn't want them anywhere near Harry and Meghan, near his children, offering any sort of supportive role, knowing that any moment they could do a runner again, run off to Oprah, that they've got access to the royal family again. So they'd sell details, private conversations, share text messages. So Charles isn't even thinking, I think, of the impact that he's potentially creating for his son, because Charles is obviously going to pass away at some point. It might be many years, might be a couple of decades for all we know. But if he doesn't sort this now, he's leaving such a mess for Prince William to deal with. And I think Prince William will deal with it. I think between the two of them, I think there's a very good chance that when Prince William becomes king, Harry will lose the dukedom and he will lose any privileges that he may still have. Charles does make himself look weak when it comes to his son. And as I said, I can understand it from a father's point of view, but he's got to look at it more from, you are the king of the UK and the Commonwealth realms. It's bigger than your love for your child. You've got to put that first. And I think that Charles should definitely crack down on his son, but it's obvious that he won't deal with it, and even more so now that he's got obviously cancer. Can you imagine what would happen, what Harry would behave like if he did? Whilst he would have, I'd imagine, a lot of support from many people if he did make that decision to show that he's no longer willing to leave the door open for his wayward son. I just can't see him doing it. Maybe that does make him a little bit weak as a king.
When Prince William eventually ascends to the throne, he gains full constitutional authority over royal titles, patronages, and honours. That means any leniency shown so far could end with a single royal decree.
What do you think, Dan? It's a tough one.
It is difficult. Look, I think I've always said that Charles should be tougher on Harry and Meghan, unfortunately. The example that you have to use, and without getting into the Prince Andrew debate, is the absolutely unrelenting and almost impossible emotionally decision that the late Queen Elizabeth II made to completely thrust Andrew, her favourite son, her beloved son, out of the royal family altogether in terms of as a working royal. That was devastating to him. She knew it was devastating to him. She didn't want to do it. She believes that he's totally innocent, but she did do it because it was the right thing to do for the monarchy, for the royal family. It's not about your personal feelings, unfortunately. No. The late Queen knew that. Look, she wouldn't let her beloved sister Margaret marry the love of his life. I mean, was that the right thing to do? Probably not, but she took the official advice. And I don't just think it's a case of Charles not being strong enough. I think it's a case of we've had weak and pathetic British governments as well who haven't been strong enough. You need a prime minister saying, I'm sorry, Your Majesty, your son is actually causing some real damage, because those were the conversations that took place, by the way, with Queen Elizabeth II about her sister. She can't be with Townsend. I'm sorry. Now, that I don't agree with the decision that was made about Townsend, by the way. It was ludicrous. Who cared about the fact that he was a divorcee? But that was how it was felt at the time. So I think he needs... different times. Yeah. But... Now, this question actually is quite nicely linked in quite a morbid way, Tash, to what you just raised. Liz Holmes 9338 asks, are plans in place regarding Charles's death in terms of the notification of Harry and Meghan, attendance at the funeral, accommodations and limitations regarding recording devices? I propose Harry and Meghan agree to limitations or that they are not invited. What do you think?
According to royal insiders, William is reportedly determined to preserve the integrity of the monarchy, even if it means taking a hard line against his own brother. As Prince William prepares for his future role, tough decisions will have to be made.
I believe that they will, Harry will be invited. I'm unsure about Meghan, to be honest with you.
I think she'll be invited, but I don't think she'll attend.
I don't think she'll come. I think that they probably have got things in place. And I think one of the biggest things that they would be foolish not to is to not give any information away to Harry and Meghan. I still believe when Omid Scobie said about the Queen's body was coming down by the train, I believe that that was fed to Harry to test the waters. And then Omid Scobie got his exclusive when he went up to Balmoral to see the Queen after she'd passed. Harry was obviously causing such a stink because he wanted Meghan to go, and he was obviously already run into the papers. And I just can't help but feel that that was done to test the waters, say to Harry that the body will be going down by train, and Omid got that exclusive. They cannot be trusted with any sort of private information. Harry saying recently that he was upset he found out about his father's cancer. Well, not the cancer, we had that, but it was he had to stay in hospital because Harry can't be trusted. He proved that when he did come over, because the next day, his interview he was meant to be given about the Invictus Games was touted as an update on the King's health. So if Harry had been told any information, I guarantee you it would have come out in that interview. So I think the royals are very aware that they cannot trust Harry with any sort of private information. And I'd imagine there is the plan in place. There's always a plan in place for what happens when the monarch dies. And they've obviously now updated it to suit the king. But I would definitely be certain that one of the biggest rules that was put down is Harry and Meghan could not have access to any information unless they are ready for it to come out in the media. Yeah, it's sad, but yes, what can you expect, really?
Indeed. I mean, he would be there, though. There's no doubt about that. The bigger question, to be honest, is about the coronation of a King William, because my understanding, as it stands at least, is that William would not want Harry there and would certainly not want Meghan there, and that would be obviously much
I'd support that.
Significant.
I would support that. I think I would support that more than I would. I think Harry should be invited to his father's funeral, but with Prince William and Catherine's coronation, no, Harry doesn't deserve to be there after everything that they've done, especially what they've done to Catherine. Again, Omid Scobie being the person, he more recently named Catherine and King and linked them to being the royal racist. Harry's never once defended his sister-in-law. Never once, despite knowing that she had cancer and the stress it was causing. The fact that Christopher Boozy worked on their Netflix documentary, he didn't once think to speak out and to slap him down. They didn't stop the Sussex squad from targeting Catherine while she was going through all of that. So Harry doesn't deserve to be anywhere near that family and their children ever again.
I totally agree. And I don't see it changing unless something were to happen after Charles died and it somehow brought them back together, but it seems unlikely to me. Now, Lena Matthews 512. So this is all a bit morbid, Tash, but people want to know this because it does matter. It does matter. I guess.
It made me cry.
No. You'll be fine with this. But Lena Matthews 512 asks, what will Queen Camilla's position be when William becomes king? I watch a lot of Chinese and Korean dramas, and they sometimes have step empresses or queens after the first ones have died or been deposed. Interesting this, because of course the Queen Mother was the mother of the Queen, and Camilla is not the mother of William or Catherine.
And for Harry and Meghan, the clock may be ticking. Will the crown reclaim its power, or is reconciliation still possible? This story is far from over. Leave a comment below. Should Prince Harry and Meghan be stripped of their titles? Let's talk about it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for the latest royal revelations. Until next time, stay curious.